you are a Canadian and you want to know what is it like actually moving to and living in Phoenix, Arizona. We have, and especially in my complex, I live in a condo complex, we have so many Canadians that come down and move down here, if not full-time, at least for the winter time. So in this video today, I want to make sure that you know everything there is to know about living in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, what are some things to do? What is it actually like? As well as stick around to the end because we will be doing a deeper dive on what is the actual cost of living here. That way, if you're thinking about making a move, you know everything there is to know. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, one of the very first things that you absolutely must know when moving down here to the Phoenix, Arizona area is that Phoenix is very, very spread out. You know, in Canada, I know things are a little bit tighter right in the cities, like in Vancouver and Toronto, it's a little bit closer together in the cities. In Phoenix, that is going to be the complete opposite. Phoenix is very, very spread out. So from corner to corner, it's about 80 miles. I'm not completely sure on the conversion about how much that would be, but just know that it's very, very spread out. So if you're driving in a car and you're going from one corner of the city to the complete other side, it's going to be at least an hour and a half in the car. So that is why it's very important that if you are thinking about making a move to Phoenix, you know exactly like what part of town that you want to be in, what neighborhoods that you want to be in. And honestly, that's exactly what we help you guys do. Is we help determine kind of what is your lifestyle goal, what are you looking to do? That way, you know, you have everything that you need in your like direct neighborhood, because you don't want to make the mistake that I did and we live in the wrong area to town. So for example, when we first moved here, we were living in Midtown Phoenix, then we moved out to Gilbert. Well, a lot of the stuff that we like to do was hike and travel. So a lot of that was a 45-minute drive minimum. So we were always in the car. It got very, very old very quickly. So I don't want you to make that same mistake. So make sure that if you're thinking about making a move to Phoenix, that you're living in the right part of town because it is very, very spread out. Now, the second thing that I want to touch on is weather, right? It's obviously very, very different. It's a very different climate here in Phoenix, Arizona than compared to Canada. So myself, I was originally born in Minnesota, you know, a cold northern state, and then my family moved down to Nebraska, so a less cold state, but it's still freezing cold there in the winter. Actually, I was just there last week and it was negative 23. I was freezing. I had so many layers on. Anyways, down here in Phoenix, you're living in a desert, so it gets very, very hot. You know, today it's a winter time and it's an absolute beautiful day. It's about 65 degrees. I think in Celsius, that's around like 10, no, that seems low. Maybe like 15 degrees Celsius. So in the winter time, it's very, very mild summers, and that is one of the #1 reasons why so many Canadians move to Arizona is of the beautiful weather. Now, one thing to note that don't make the same mistake that I did. So I thought moving to Phoenix was going to be very similar to like Florida, where every single day it's hot and you're by the pool every single day. As you can see, nobody is here at the pool right now because it's only about 65 degrees. But you know, just one thing to note about Arizona, especially in the wintertime, it's very, very sunny. There's over 300 days of sunshine a year. So that is definitely one of the best parts, is that it is consistent sunshine. Usually there's not very much wind and the weather is absolutely spectacular. However, it does get a little chilly. So at night, you know, the lows, I do have my conversions here. The lows for the winter time go to 8 degrees Celsius to about 17. So just to note that like during the day, it's going to be nice and warm and sunny. But as soon as the sun goes down, it's definitely going to get a little bit chilly. This will be our 4th year here. And honestly, after living here, now I've started to get cold. Anytime it gets below 65, it sounds crazy, but you know, even today I'm wearing a jacket. So just one thing to note, you do get acclimated very quickly, but just know that the winters are nice and mild. Now, one of my favorite parts about living in the Phoenix area is that Phoenix has literally every single living style that you could ever imagine. You know, they have, you know, 55 and older communities with manufactured homes. There we go, I drew a blank. So they have manufactured homes. They have, you know, 55 and older communities with like small single family houses. They have 55 and older communities with huge, large mansions. So you really can find it all, and there's so many different diverse living styles. Now, if you are just moving down here just as a, you know, you're not 55 and older, again, there's so many different living styles. So again, I live in a condo unit in the Ahwatukee area. They have condos, they have manufactured home parks if that's what you're into. They have, you know, standard single family, you know, neighborhoods. They have like suburban living, they have downtown living. They literally have everything. And again, just one thing to note, if you are thinking about making a move down here, like the city of Phoenix, that's going to be your more, you know, urban style living. It's a little bit busier, a little bit louder, more activities going on. But then if you lived where we used to in Gilbert, like Gilbert is like all residential. There's not a lot of commercial activity down there. It's all residential. And then, you know, you just have like your little grocery store. So again, if you're thinking about making a move, guys, this is exactly what we do. We help people just like you that are thinking about making a move, and we help, you know, go through a consultation and find out exactly where you want to live, because I don't want you to move to the wrong area. But again, Phoenix just has so many different diverse lifestyles. The reason, especially in this complex, that there's so many Canadians is that a condo is a little bit easier to maintain in the winter than, you know, a regular house. The condo, like, they would cover like the roof and the exterior of the unit, and all the landscaping. So all you have to do is just show up. You know, you're basically on vacation the second that you get back. I know a ton of friends that they own, like in Minnesota, right? They have like summer like lake houses. And honestly, if you're watching this, you probably have one too. But you know, when you go back, you gotta mow the lawn, you gotta trim the bushes. There's a ton of maintenance. So that's why, you know, a lot of people opt for condos for like winter living. So definitely there's a ton of diverse living options. And honestly, this is a perfect transition into number 3 of one of the things that you have to think of is there's not as much house maintenance. So again, I moved here from Nebraska, and my brother and I still own a house there. And in the wintertime, you guys know you got to empty out all of the water of your sprinklers. If it gets super cold, you got to I remember we bought these like insulated things, and we'd stick them on the downspouts outside. So if you're watching this, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when you have to like winterize your home. Even if you have a pool in Canada, right? You got to drain all the water out. Well, I never had a pool in Nebraska, but I'm pretty sure you got to drain it all out. And I don't know if you refill. I'm not exactly sure exactly what you guys do, but I thought you did. But here in Arizona, if you buy a house with a pool, you do not have to do that. It's nice all year round. Just know that, again, the water gets very, very cold. So like right now, I'm not jumping in that. It's absolutely freezing. But just in general, very, very low house maintenance that you have here in the Phoenix area. You know, a lot of these desert plants, they're made for the desert. So you don't have to, you know, consistently, you know, pour water on them. They're used to going with long droughts without it. So a lot less home maintenance than, you know, some of your homes up in the northern area, especially up in Canada. Now the 5th aspect, this is going to be very, very different than other areas in the United States. So again, if you're thinking about moving from Canada, especially like when I moved here from the Midwest. So in the Midwest, like everybody's super, super friendly. You could literally go to a grocery store, stand in line, and talk to the guy for 15 minutes. Like that's just what the Midwest is. And I'm sure it's the same way in Canada. You know, again, when I was in Minnesota, it's the same exact way. Honestly, when I moved down here to Phoenix, that's one of my favorite parts is that people are still very, very friendly. You know, not everybody, but for the most part, it's kind of a mix of like Midwest and California vibes. And honestly, those two mesh together very, very well. You know, when we were thinking about making a move out to like Florida, you know, the stigma, right? This has not been my experience, but the stigma of like the Northeast and Florida is, you know, people aren't quite as friendly. They're not as willing to say hi. They kind of just do their own thing. Here in Phoenix, it's almost the complete opposite. Everybody's super friendly. Everybody wants to say hi. You know, even just driving down the street, most people will wave. They'll wave to your neighbor. So you really do get that, you know, community aspect, you know, and when the weather is this good, how can you not be friendly? So that is definitely one of my favorite things about living in Phoenix, especially compared to other areas of the country, is that everybody's very, very friendly and very, very neighbor and community oriented. Now, number 6, what is, you know, another huge aspect about Phoenix that I absolutely love is the shopping, and the restaurant scene is absolutely amazing. Again, we have a lot of California influence. There's a lot of like Chicago influence here as well. But then you also have, you know, the down in Mexico, you got a ton of Mexican influence for food. So the food here is absolutely outstanding, especially if you are in like the Phoenix area or Scottsdale. Downtown Chandler has a lot of good restaurants. Downtown Glendale does. Downtown Gilbert. So, you know, once you get out in the suburbs, you're gonna find most of your chains. And again, that's why I don't want you to move to the wrong area like I did. I love going to unique restaurants. In the area that we lived in, Gilbert, it was all like Outback Steakhouse, McDonald's, Burger King, like chain restaurants out the wazoo, right? So I don't want you, if you are a huge foodie, there's other areas of the Phoenix area to live, but just know that if you're moving here, the restaurants are absolutely world class. You can find all kinds of different food, and there's restaurants literally everywhere. And not to mention shopping, there's 2 huge major shopping areas and shopping malls, and we'll include 3. We'll include the Westgate out in Glendale. That's more of kind of, I mean, there is big shopping there, but the Scottsdale Fashion Square, there we go, in the Chandler Fashion Square, you have tons of shopping, you know, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all those major brands you can find in Scottsdale, as well as Kierland up in northern Scottsdale. So that gets us up to 4, I guess. But there is really, really good shopping here. If you're a huge shopper, come down to Phoenix, Arizona area, and you are going to find it. Sales tax, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the cost of living aspect at the end, so stay tuned. But sales tax in Arizona is just about 8%, so a little bit higher than the national average, but you know, it might be lower than the taxes up in Canada. So definitely double check that, but just know that there's world-class shopping and there's world-class food here in Phoenix. All right, number 7. This is actually one of the main reasons why I moved here into the Phoenix, Arizona area is, you know, if you're living in Canada and you are tired of being stuck inside, you got to get out there and enjoy all of the outdoor activities, and that is the best thing that Phoenix has to offer. Again, over 300 days, not 600, 300 days of sunshine, and not to mention, you can't see them right here, but there's mountains everywhere in Phoenix. So if you are a hiker, if you are a mountain biker, if you know, just love to look at the mountains, there's going to be all kinds of outdoor activities. I play in an outdoor volleyball league all summer long, all winter long. So the people of Phoenix, they just embrace the heat. You know, there's stuff going on all year round. Pickleball is absolutely huge here. There's so many courts. I live near Pecos Park, on a Saturday, Sunday morning, it is packed. You can always find a game. So if you love doing outdoor activities, Phoenix is going to be an amazing spot for you. And again, one of my favorite things is like if you're in Florida, right, and it rains like the whole day, especially if you like to play like pickleball or, you know, like tennis, your whole day is kind of ruined in that aspect. It basically never rains here in Phoenix, so you never really have to worry about that. It's consistent sunshine, and the weather is absolutely amazing for outdoor activities. And that was, again, one of the main reasons why I moved to Phoenix, was to enjoy the outdoor activities, especially in the dead of winter. You know, today, again, it's 65 degrees out, it's sunny, there's no wind. It's absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite spots. So if you're an outdoor enthusiast, you've got to come down and move to Phoenix, especially in the wintertime, because the weather is so good. Number 8, this goes hand in hand with outdoor activities, and this is the #1 reason why I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and that is to play golf. There are over 200 golf courses here in the Phoenix metro area, and again, if you are coming down here in the wintertime, there's some like golf havens. So if you go into like East Mesa, if you go into Scottsdale, if you go up into like Sun City, there are public courses, I'm not kidding, literally everywhere. And not to mention, in the wintertime, it does get a little bit more expensive. So if you're gonna go play a city course, it's gonna be, you know, about $50 to $60. In the summer, the best part, and that's why it's sad to see all the Canadians leave or Northerners leave in the summer, because they're missing out on the best. The courses are in the best shape and they're so cheap. So for example, like if you wanna go play True North, one of the best courses in Phoenix, or Quintero, again, two of the best courses in the area, those are going to run $300 per 18 holes. Not kidding, there's no exaggeration. But in the summer, you can play those courses for $45. Yes, it's extremely hot, but nobody's out there, so you have the entire course to yourself. But it is definitely one of the best parts about living here is that there are so many golf courses. The cool thing too is that like being in the desert, you would only think that there's desert golf. That is completely not the case. For example, like Grand Canyon University Golf Club, that is a course that's a parkland style, so it's all trees and just grass, so there's no desert at all. So Phoenix has a ton of diverse options for golfers, and again, it is my favorite part to be able to play 12 months a year. And honestly, like the coldest high that we've ever had here since I moved here is only 55 degrees. And like, I'm not gonna go out and play in that, that's too cold. But there's a ton of people that move down here that they flood to the courses during that time. So if that is you, and you are a huge golfer, again, that is the only reason why I moved down here. I just wanted to play golf 12 months a year. So Phoenix is one of the best spots. Does it have the most courses of states? No, but there are over 200 just here in the Phoenix Valley, not mentioning Tucson. So Phoenix is an amazing golf spot if you are a golfer. The last thing that we will cover for, you know, kind of things to do and what is it actually like to live here are the professional sporting events. So Phoenix has 4 as of right now. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But Phoenix has all 4 major sporting events. You got the Diamondbacks for baseball, you got the Suns for basketball, you have the Cardinals for football, and you have the Coyotes for hockey. Now, the Coyotes, the reason why I was joking up front, Coyotes are they might reschedule, they might move out of Phoenix, they might not. We'll see what happens. But for right now, Phoenix has all 4 major sporting events, and not to mention like major concerts that come here as well. So you know, the Taylor Swift huge Eras tour that just went on, and you know, Phoenix, it's an absolute destination spot for all major artists. So there's all kinds of different concerts that are always going on. There's all kinds of like, you know, different farmers markets. There we go. There's all kinds of entertainment. There's casinos everywhere if you love to gamble. So there's so much stuff to do in terms of entertainment. And again, we have all 4 major sporting events that go all year round. So there is always stuff to do. If you love to go out with the people, you know, there is always going to be something for you here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and definitely one of the best parts about living here. You will never be bored when you move here. Now guys, again, before we get to the cost of living in this channel, if you like this video, click the like button and comment down below. I want to know your thoughts about moving to Phoenix. What have you heard about living in Phoenix, or anything like that? Or where are you coming from? What part of Canada or anywhere in the north that you're moving from? But in this channel, we cover everything there is to know about moving to Phoenix. So again, if that is you and you are thinking about moving to Phoenix, guys, we love hearing from you and love being able to help change your life. I know moving to Phoenix absolutely changed mine. It's seeing this daily sunshine every day. So I want to help you change yours. So pause the video, jot down our contact information. It is down below. Reach out to us and we will help make sure that your move as smooth as possible. All right, so now let's get into the cost of living. How much does it actually cost to live here in Phoenix, Arizona? Now, just in general, you know, honestly, I was surprised. I thought Phoenix Phoenix is one of the 10th biggest cities in the United States. Honestly, it's up to 5 in some aspects. It's down to like 12 in others. I don't think it's not bigger than Houston or any of those areas, so I always like to start with number 10. But anyways, you know, moving from like a smaller town, Nebraska, there's only about 1 million people, and then coming down to Phoenix, where it's the 10th largest city, there's over 5 million people that live in the metro. I thought it was going to be crazy expensive. Honestly, that was really not the case, and I was really surprised. So just in general, and then we'll kind of hit more of the specifics. Phoenix is only about 4% higher for all costs than the national average. So again, for living in where there's 5 million people that live here, and you get all of the amenities that we talked about earlier, and it's only 4% higher. Like, get out of here. It's an absolute steal. And that was really one of the things that when we moved down here, I was honestly really, really surprised. So, you know, kind of just in general, right? If you love to go out, or, you know, we'll just start with like restaurants and, you know, going out for like drinks with friends, right? So if you want to go out to a restaurant, as of right now, you know, you can expect to spend anywhere from, you know, $15 to $20 on just like a normal average restaurant, average plated sit down restaurant. And again, in America, and I'm sure you guys know this if you're watching this, you always have to add, you know, 15 to 20% to the tab of the bill. So again, you know, if you're going out by yourself, you know, with a friend for lunch or somebody else, you can expect to spend anywhere from, you know, $20 to $25 after tax. And that's with no drink. That's literally just a meal. If you want to get a beer, you know, typically, or like a cocktail, typically if you go out to a restaurant, again, these are just like average restaurants, that's going to be anywhere from, you know, $5 to $8, depending on, you know, are you getting like a light, or are you getting like a lager, like a Canadian IPA, like a lager or Canadian IPA or anything like that, right? So just note, you know, restaurants, but costs have gone up everywhere, right? So I feel like that's pretty standard, all things considered, is what you're going to spend at a restaurant. Now, for transportation, I was honestly very, very surprised about how affordable it is to register your car here in Arizona. So when we first moved down here, I had a 2004 Lexus RX 330. I absolutely love that car. It had like 200,000 miles on it. I really miss it. And it was $100 for 2 years of registration when I first licensed it. Now, that car, it had some problems at the end, so I upgraded. Now I have a 2016 RAV4. So again, car's about 8 years old, and my wife has about an 8-year-old Toyota Corolla as well. If you're a Toyota fan, comment down below. Those things go forever. They're the best. But you can expect to spend, again, about $250 for 2 years of license registrations. Where I came from in Nebraska, it's about $1,000 for 1 year. So it's an absolute steal down here. If you are moving down here, that was a huge surprise that we found, is just how affordable it is to register your car here in Phoenix. Now, if you're moving from Canada and you're only down here part-time, honestly, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless it's cheaper for you down here. But just walking around our complex, we see all kinds of Canadian plates. So you don't have to actually register it if you don't want. However, you know, I just want to make sure that you're fully aware about what are the full costs about moving here. One thing to note actually as well is that if you are going to register your car down here, you're going to have to go every 2 years to what's called an emissions test. And it's only $20, but they just go and make sure that your car isn't putting out a ton of pollution. Phoenix, that is one thing about it, is that there is a lot of pollution here, so they're trying to limit it. So every 2 years, you got to go get your emissions test. It's only $20, so it's nothing crazy. Now, in terms of, unfortunately, the car insurance is actually going to be very, very high down here. And I called my agent because it was a big surprise coming from Nebraska down here. I called my agent and I said, man, what's going on? Like, why is it so much more expensive? He said the main reason is there's so many underinsured and uninsured drivers here that those of you who do choose to pay for car insurance, you're kind of making up for it. So car insurance is definitely going to be a lot higher. We saw almost a 40 to 50% increase from where we were at in Nebraska down here. Again, both of our cars are, you know, about 7 to 8 years old, and we pay about $1,100 every 6 months in payments. So again, you can, you know, kind of round up to, let's say, $2,300 a year. And again, our cars are 8 years old and they're Toyotas. You know, if you like the Hyundai stuff that's going on, or if you're driving like a Lexus or like a Range Rover, you know, just expect those to be a little bit higher. But do know that car insurance is going to be higher here in the Phoenix area. Now, in terms of you know, every single day driving, Phoenix is very, very spread out. So again, like we talked about earlier, so a lot of your miles are actually just going to be on highway. You can pretty much get highways pretty much everywhere here. And that, should have mentioned that actually at the beginning. That's one of the best parts about Phoenix, is that there's highways everywhere. So typically cars get a little bit higher gas mileage per, you know, tank, whatever. So you can expect to pay, you know, right now, Phoenix is always a little bit higher than the national average. So right now, the national average is about $3.10. Phoenix right now, it's about $3.30, $3.40. So just know it is a little bit higher. I don't know if that is cheaper. If it's cheaper than Canada, let me know. I'm sure you guys go off of liters, but just know that if you are thinking about moving down here, gas is a little bit higher than, you know, let's say you're moving to Texas or Florida, but it's way lower than California. And that is definitely one of the best things that we have, is it definitely is lower than in California. Now, in terms of, you know, entertainment, again, costs are always going up. If you're going to go to like the Cardinals game, you could expect to pay. They're not very good right now, so that definitely helps. But even when they were good, you know, tickets were about $100 per seat. Now you can buy them, you know, resale for anywhere from like, you know, $30 to $50. So again, they're not very good, which definitely makes it better. The Diamondbacks, they're not one of the more popular teams in town. Their arena is actually really cool, but you can go to a Diamondbacks game for $10 to $30 a ticket. So you can go for a very, very affordable. We'll go to a couple games a year, and it's very easy. You can park and you can take the like public transportation. That way you don't have to deal with downtown traffic. So just know that, if you're going to a game, it's going to be, typically on the little bit lower end. If you want to go to a Coyotes game, right now they're playing at the Arizona State Stadium. So the stadium is actually really small. So those tickets are a little bit expensive. You could expect to spend over $100 per ticket. In terms of like concerts, again, it really just kind of depends. I would forecast if you love going to concerts, you're going to pay about $100 a ticket. Obviously higher for Taylor Swift and lower for maybe, I can't think of an artist right now, but maybe, a little bit lower. But just in general, you could expect to spend about $100 a ticket. Now let's move into like the more the nitty gritty of houses. And again, guys, this is exactly what we do. We help people relocate to the Phoenix area. So again, if that is you, pause the video, jot down our contact information below, and please reach out to us. We love hearing from people that are thinking about moving here and seeing how we can help. So in general, we'll start with utilities. So the utilities down here, you don't really have to run your heat all that often. We have about a 1,400 square foot condo, and in the heat, we've only had to run it a couple times. However, when we were just renting a house before we owned here, and we did have to turn the heat, it would get freezing cold. It'd be like 63, 64 if we didn't run the heat. So typically, you can expect to spend anywhere from, $100 to all the way up to $500 on utilities. So, in the summertime, it's 105, it's 110, it's 115. So the AC is running constantly. So in the summer months, you're definitely going to see a spike. Again, for our personal bills, we pay about $80 in the wintertime, and then maybe about $300 in the summer. Now, if you have a 2,500 to 3,000 square foot house that's 2 stories, you could expect to pay $700, $800, $900 in the summertime, depending on what you keep your temperature at. There are a ton of Canadians and Northerners in the complex that I live in, and some of them keep their place at like 87 in the summer when they're not here. So their bills are going to be obviously lower than ours, but just note that the utility bills, they are going to be a little bit higher. Now that brings us to our next point, is air conditioning units. Again, back in Nebraska where I was from, you could expect the HVAC unit, the heating, and the air conditioning unit to last about 15, we'll say 20 to 30 years. Down here in Arizona, if you can get an AC unit to last 15 years, that is an absolute steal. Usually they're only about 10 to 15. So if you are going to purchase a older home, I recommend getting like a home warranty plan and see again if the seller will even pay for it, because units down here are going to be more expensive. They're going to be about $10,000 minimum depending on size, and they can get out $20,000 if you need a couple of them. So just note that if you are moving down here, the utility bills are going to be a little bit higher, as well as purchasing an AC unit. Now in terms of housing, right, let's get into the nitty gritty. What you've all been waiting for is housing. So if you are planning to rent here, when my wife and I, when we first moved here, we were renting a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment. It was about 800 square feet, right in the heart of Phoenix, right in Camelback East, and we were only paying about $1,200. I was honestly really surprised. I thought we were going to be paying way more, but the next year after we move out, they wanted to raise it to $1,700. So we're like, dude, we're out of here. That's way too high. So just in general, what can you kind of expect? Right now, you can kind of expect, rents rose a lot the last couple of years. So right now, you can kind of expect, anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500. If you're living like in the heart of Phoenix. If you're living in Scottsdale, it's definitely going to be even higher. But if you get out to the suburbs, Chandler, Gilbert, Glendale, you can expect to pay, a little bit lower. So $1,100 to $1,300, $1,400, somewhere like that, depending on amenities. Now, if you want to rent like a 3-bedroom, so again, we just got done renting a 3-bedroom out in Gilbert, and that was about $2,100 per year. That is pretty standard. Again, it's gone up a little bit, so maybe 22, 23, depending on amenities. But it is pretty standard. Of average about what you can expect is about $2,300. Now, if you want to be again in like the Phoenix area or Scottsdale, you're going to expect to pay anywhere from 25 to 26, 27, 28. So it's definitely going to be a little bit higher per month. But again, those are some of the most sought after areas, so obviously they are going to be expensive. Now, if you are thinking about owning, the nice thing again that we talked about, there's so many different diverse living styles. So, calculate your budget, figure out exactly, how much that you can afford. But just in general, you can get a 1-bedroom condo for in the high 2s, low 3s. So that is actually very, very affordable. Again, we just bought a 3-bedroom unit and it was $350,000. So in my eyes, that was an absolute steal. There's other condos around here that are available, again, in the high 2s, low 3s, and you can get even 2 bedrooms for that price. Now, if you want to move in again into like the center of Phoenix area, expect to pay, $375, $400, so a little bit higher, especially out in Scottsdale. And actually in Scottsdale, you can get a place, go check out our under $400,000 in Scottsdale, you can find a condo right in the heart of the Old Town area for under $400,000. The HOAs are higher, but again, it's checks and balances, right? So it all depends on what your budget is. Now, if you are expecting to buy, a 3-bedroom house, if you are thinking like like the suburbs area, you could expect to pay anywhere from, $400,000 to $500,000 starting range. Again, if you're in the city, it's going to be a little bit higher, $450,000 to $550,000. Now, if you have, and guys, we cover the entire Phoenix Valley, so there are secrets. If you are okay with a little bit of a drive like Maricopa, you can get a absolute steal for a house. You can get 2,500 square feet in Maricopa for $400,000, so it's an absolute steal. There are different areas. Again, that's one of the best parts about Phoenix is there's diverse living styles everywhere depending on your budget, size, all of that good stuff. Now, in terms of actual cost for the house, right? If you are looking for a home internet plan, you could expect to spend anywhere from $50 to, I would say, about $100 depending on coverage. We actually just got T-Mobile, and it's been really, really good. We pay $55 a month, and it has been unlimited whatever they have. I feel like nobody knows what they're actually getting, but for the most part, $55, that's an absolute steal. But you can kind of expect to spend under $100 in terms of internet. Now, in terms of property taxes, again, Phoenix is going to be one of the best places. That's one of the best parts about living here in Phoenix. So again, for 1,400 square feet for a 3-bedroom unit, we're only paying about $1,200 for the entire year in taxes. So property taxes are very, very, very low. On average, you could expect, like 0.2 to 0.3% of the purchase price. As of right now, that's what you can kind of expect to pay in property taxes. Again, on average, you could expect to spend, anywhere from, I'd say $1,500 to about $2,500. That would probably cover a majority of you that are thinking about moving here. If you're higher, obviously the higher price homes are going to have higher taxes. Scottsdale is going to be one of the highest areas. But just in general, you could expect to spend $1,500 to about $2,500 a month or a year in taxes. Now, in terms of insurance, what can you expect? Again, they're pretty average. They're pretty in line with the rest of the nation. So it comes out to about $140 a month. Obviously, some higher, some lower. But on average, you could expect home insurance to be around $140 every single month. Now, the last thing that we'll touch on with the general houses expenses is HOAs, especially if you're thinking about moving into the East Valley, so like Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa. Not so much Mesa, I guess, but definitely Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek. There are going to be a ton of houses that have HOAs. Now, they cover, general maintenance of the neighborhood, but some of them are a lot higher than what you would expect. So you could expect to spend anywhere from $70 to $150 every single month. If you're in a condo complex like this, you could expect to spend about $250 every single month. So again, when you're planning out your budget, make sure you include the HOA cost in there as well. So guys, that wraps it up for, what is it actually like moving here from Canada or any northern state. Again, if you like this video, make sure you click the like button and comment down below. I really want to know your thoughts about our video or anything moving to Phoenix, anything like that. Where are you coming from? And if you like this channel, guys, in this channel we cover everything there is to know about moving to Phoenix. So click that subscribe button and to make sure you don't miss out on any new content. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Check out our other videos, and thanks for watching.